Investigations, Chris?
Hi, Chris. This is Steve Javinsky returning your call.
Oh, hi, Steve. Thanks for calling me back.
You're welcome.
Well, I will just be honest with you. I have gotten your name through an investigation that we're working connected with Prince. And I'm wondering if you have any contact with him or had contact with him at all.
I worked with Prince for years.
Okay.
And so, yeah, I've had contact and some meetings with him over the years.
Okay. Is this through the Copycats media? Are you through that kind of the music and doing the CDs and stuff? Okay.
That's correct.
Okay. Were you currently with or talking with him at all, like up to within maybe the last 3 to 5 months? No.
I had that. Well, I take that back. I didn't talk to him. The only contact I had with anyone from his group was probably in the last 6 months. They had called looking, to have some CDs made, which I sold that business years ago. But I was, their main contact for since 2001, and he had somebody call me asking to get some CDs made, and I told them that I was no longer in the business and I would pass their info along to the company that I sold my business to.
Okay.
And that's, the extent of that conversation, basically.
Okay. Yeah, your name had just come up, and so I was just trying to touch base with people that may or may not have still had some contact, and if they would have had any information. But you think you're saying 2001 was when you were doing the Copycat media? Or? Well,
that's when we first started working for him, and I worked on projects for him up through probably... So I sold the company in 2008, and I stayed on with Copycats for 6 years as president of Copycats for the company that bought them, the ADS Group, or Advanced Duplication Services, out in Plymouth, Minnesota.
Okay.
And so that was my last official day was August 31st, 2014.
Okay. And so...
And we did have, some communication, up until the end, on and off, about, projects that would come up. I'd have to look back and see, if we ran jobs for him or, how many conversations, I had with him or his people during that time, but it wasn't as active at that time as it was early on.
Okay, that's okay. I was just trying to touch base. Obviously, we're doing an investigation into his death, and I'm trying to follow up with people that would have had contact with him. But from what I'm understanding is you hadn't had any contact since, are you thinking 2014? Or except the 6 months ago you were contacted to make CDs, but it sounds like it was...
That was very brief. I passed that along to the company I sold it to, like, that day. It was on a weekend. Okay. And he reached out, or somebody reached out, and they needed CDs quick, so I contacted one of the principals over at ADS and said, hey, Prince is looking to get CDs made. I suggest you guys call them right away. Looks like, they want to do a nice large run. Send me my commission check in the mail later.
Got it.
and so that was quick, but prior to that, in 2012, 13, and 14, I'm sure there were a handful of conversations and projects that either got completed or were discussed and designed. And, with Prince, things either, would start quickly and end quickly, or, it was always interesting. So,
do you have anything that, I guess, have you been following the news with his death at all?
Of course.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Do you have anything, Stephen, that you would think would be beneficial for us to know? Or any information of it, or any people that you think would be important for us to talk to?
I mean, I had sit-down meetings with him, and I have to admit he was very, in personal, private, one-on-one meetings, whenever we would meet with him, we'd have to clear out the building, and none of the employees could be in the building. We'd have to do it on, after hours, on weekends, and make sure nobody was in the building, because he was obviously such a private guy, and just, didn't want other people seeing him. But he was, he had a lot of charisma, and, during those meetings, he, had lots of interesting ideas and wanted to, continue to talk about these ideas, over time. And, none of them really came to fruition, but we continued to make CDs for him. And I heard from him a handful of times. It took years before he would talk to even me, even though I made millions of CDs for him from 2001 until the first time I met him. I was always working with his people until he got comfortable enough to talk and meet directly with me.
Okay.
So,
so you're saying
he didn't seem to me that he was, on, drugs or, all the stuff that we're hearing in the news and things like that. I always got the impression from him that he was extremely, he was I believe a vegan, and I know he had all of his meals out at Paisley Park prepared by a vegan chef, and so when he got home at night, that, his meals were, there prepared for him and things like that. And so, hearing all the drug things was pretty shocking to me, so I never noticed anything like that in my meetings or discussions with him.
Okay.
But obviously, that wasn't the case, at least at the end. I knew he was in some sort of pain from all the touring and jumping around, and as my understanding that he had some hip problems, but that wasn't really documented or out in the press as far as I'm aware of, but just from people in his group, I heard things like that. But and so many people came and left through that group, like his people. I worked with so many different people throughout the years. They would come and go, I think because he just kept such weird hours, and it was hard for these people to maintain that lifestyle. And so I must have met 30, 40 different people over the almost 15 years I worked with him.
Okay.
Was he there difficult? Anyone else? He to be honest, he everyone else has always said that he was. Mm-hmm. And the first time I got a call to do some quick CDs for him for a party out at Paisley Park in 2001, I had told a friend of mine who said, look, hey, he's notorious for not paying. Make sure you get paid up front. I'm like, okay, that's a good tip. I was a young company at the time, and so I just told his management that all jobs are paid in full up front, and that's how it went for 15 years. Even jobs that cost over $1 million, they paid up front, which was unheard of when working with Prince. But I think we had a mutual respect for each other, the way we at least did business. And somebody once told me that he worked with me so long because of, we never exploited our relationship and tried to make money off of working for Prince. And, he respected that. And that's why he worked with us for so long, because he didn't typically work with us for very long. And would switch up a lot, and a lot of people, from what I hear, were left unpaid.
Okay.
I take it you talk to, band members and things like that.
Yes. We've talked to a whole array of people. So, but your name had just come up as with the copycat media making the CDs, so I didn't know if it was still current or if it wasn't.
So somebody from Copycats had said that I had worked with them. Is that how that worked?
Oh, no.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, I don't even remember where we got the tip from, but that you may have had some information.
Yeah, I was expecting a call at some point, actually.
Okay. Well, I'm here now, so is there anything that you think that, like I said earlier, anything that you think would be important for us that we should know with just your contacts and dealing or working with them, or anybody that you think was Kirk part of? I mean, did you know Kirk over the years?
Yep, a little bit. So full disclosure, I own a few businesses, and one of my businesses, my partner is Bobby Z, Robert Rifkin, who was the drummer for the Revolution, and was one of Prince's closest and oldest friends. And they were, do you know who Bobby Z is?
No, I don't know who that is. That's not, I guess that wasn't a person, but I guess if you think that if he would have information, feel free to give him my number if he would be willing to talk to me and give some insight if he knew of anything. But go ahead.
Yeah, so we're business partners in a company called CC Entertainment, and those two knew each other from before they were famous until the day he died. And, Bobby took it extremely hard. And, I just remember that day talking to him, he's just, I think he used the word, he was beyond devastated. And, I never seen Bobby so emotionally, wrecked. And he, Bobby had a heart attack a few years ago, and Prince, was there for him and helped, I believe financially with some of it, because Bobby didn't have, maybe health insurance, or, I don't know the whole story, but there's definitely a history there. And out of all the people that are around today, Bobby probably knew him the best and maybe had, more communication with him, throughout the years, on and off throughout the years than anybody else. Like I said, people came and went, but those two, had always stayed connected, even though maybe they wouldn't talk for a year or two, but then they would, talk constantly for, a year. So,
I'm just while you're talking to me, Steve, I'm just getting my phone list to see if he is somebody on my list here. But
right, so he has a couple names, his stage name and his real name.
And maybe that's what I'm trying to see if I can find.
If you ask me to spell Rifkin, I'm not going to be able to do that for you. But
what did you say? Rumkin?
So his stage name was Bobby, and simply last name was Z, the letter Z.
Okay.
And he was the drummer for Prince and the Revolution. So that was back in the Purple Rain days.
Okay.
And he was, like I said, a drummer, and then his real name is Robert Rifkin, and I'm sure I can find that for you pretty quickly.
Here, I'm still going through. Okay. Riskin, with an R.
Rifkin, yeah.
Well, he's not on my list as a Rifkin, so...
I got it. So his legal name is Robert B, as in Bob, Rifkin, and it's spelled R-I-F-K-I-N.
Okay. All right.
I have a 3:30 conference call with Bobby today. Do you want me to pass along your info to him?
Yes, because at this point, I'm just trying to see if there's anybody that have any kind of information that we should know. Obviously in the very beginning, we've talked to Taika and Kirk and, a lot of the people that were daily surrounding him. We've talked to all kinds of different people, but
of course,
I haven't heard of him. That's
surprising, actually.
Yeah, most everybody that we've talked to are the present. So, and your name came up. I think it was just through the copycat media, and then of course, we would find files and stuff when we were going through records and stuff like that too. So.
Right.
So, if there's anything, Stephen, that you think would be helpful, I know you said that you didn't know about anything with the drug information. You had no knowledge of any of that.
That was actually quite shocking, to be honest, just because of the lifestyle that I knew him to lead, and from what I heard from other people that knew him. So that was, to be honest, shocking. I just remember that night we were watching the news, and it was like this whole TMZ report came out, and we're like, this has got to be BS. Like, this doesn't make sense. But obviously we were wrong. So but yeah, I will talk to Bobby, and I think
yeah, if he
probably a good person to talk to. If he's a pretty private person, because when this happened that day alone, I can't tell you how many people reached out to me, because we're business partners. They know that Bobby and Prince were extremely close, and we got calls. I got calls from all the local radio stations and other people asking if he was willing, if they could have his number so they could do on-air interviews with him, and he declined to do, anything that day, and almost every day except for, they got the Revolution back together to do some benefit shows for Prince, which is what they've been doing. In fact, he's going to LA, I think, tonight or tomorrow to rehearse for some benefit shows they're doing for Prince with all the original Revolution members besides Prince.
Okay. Okay, yeah, I had a Tony Mosley.
Okay.
Is he part? But that's not him. He was a member of at one point. I've got a couple different names of.
Right, I think he was part of the New Power Generation.
Okay. I was just trying to look it through. Tyrone McConeyhead. Have you heard of that person at all?
The name sounds familiar. They all have, these stage names, so yeah. I know some of them by their real names.
Okay.
Because a lot of them, were customers at one point or another throughout the years at Copycats, and I made CDs for, a lot of them for side projects, when they were no longer working with Prince, but they were still all working musicians, and would, contact me to have, CDs made. And so a lot of them I knew by their legal names, some of them I knew by, their stage names, and, it's hard to remember all of them, but that does sound somewhat familiar, but I couldn't tell you from exactly what.
Okay. Yeah, if he would be willing to talk, or if there's anything that any information that he would want to provide, yes, please feel free to give my number. And if there's anything that, you remember after we get off the phone, you have my number too.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. I would like to see this get resolved for all the, people that, are dealing with this.
Yeah.
I have a feeling this is going to go on for a long time.
Yeah, well, I hope that we can wrap some stuff up, but yeah, there's a lot of people to talk to, a lot of stuff to do, so
So what role are you playing in this investigation?
I'm
are you
the lead detective?
Lead investigator?
Yep.
Okay. Great.
So, and it's the Carver County Sheriff's Office that's doing it here in Chaska. So,
right.
Obviously, because Paisley was in our county. So.
Yep.
But yeah, Stephen, if there's anything that you think of, or like I said, if there's anybody that you think we should talk to that might have information, just feel free to give them my number.
I will most definitely do that. And
right.
If you have any other questions, please feel free to call back.
Okay, thanks, sir. Have a great day.
All right, you're welcome.
Thanks.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Yep, bye-bye.